All right, so we're just going to pick right up where we left off in the last one. Sorry about that. It was one of those things where I was like, oh, I've got like just too much more to say. So, we just talked about Asia, we talked about China, we talked about the Boxer Rebellion, we talked about India, we talked about the Sepoy Mutiny and the Indian National Congress, and we talked about Japan and the Treaty of Kanagawa that forced Matthew Perry used to force Japan to trade. Now we're going to move into the Pacific Islands. So one of the keys is that we talk a lot about Europeans. Europeans do this, Europeans do that, Europeans do this, Europeans do that. Well, I want to make sure that it's very clear that it's not just the European countries that are doing imperialism in Asia, but it's also the United States. So I think this map down here does a really great job of demonstrating quite how many landholdings there were in the United States arsenal. Also, if you look over here, we also have some in the Caribbean as well as this picture of Uncle Sam, right? And he's stepping on the Philippines, and the caption says, "And after all, the Philippines are only the stepping stones to China," right? We're actually, we do a very terrible job of mistreating the people in the Philippines horribly. And ultimately they rebel against us and we lose that revolution. It's not something we generally teach. But it's definitely all about supply. It's all about resources. It's all about money. So a lot of these islands are used for refueling stations for shipping lanes, because the Pacific Ocean is very wide and it takes a lot to get there. So by colonizing these countries, the United States was able to find resources and stopping ports where they could refuel and resupply their ships. And also, all of the countries are still looking for raw materials in the Pacific Islands. All right, and this is the last one. We're going to talk a little bit about Australia. So Australia is also going to be colonized. The reason that people in Australia speak English is because it was a colony of Britain as part of their imperial system. And it originally was used as a penal colony. They were using it as a penitentiary, as a jail system. So one of the things that they did is that they would ship criminals to Australia and then just let them out. They would serve some time in these really terrible jails and they would release them in Australia. So they were literally never coming home, because it's not like they would be able to afford ships passage back to Britain. So they also then used Australia as a resource hub. And one of the cool things that we make contact when you're in England, when Great Britain starts colonizing in Australia, we do learn a lot about the environment, a lot about some really interesting native species and that sort of thing. But again, remember that there's indigenous people living in the continent of Australia. The Aborigines are living in Australia, and they get shoved off into the least hospitable places of Australia because the British have taken it all over. So, all right, that's it. And if you have any questions, let me know. Bye, guys.